This tutorial is going to be about using the templates with your images that you've been creating. On the Trello board, you're going to find now that there's, under resources, this area called card templates. And if I go into it, it's going to have the Pokemon card Illustrator file. So this template just has the square like a normal card. Pokemon full card, which is this one here. And then the images that are associated with it, and then you'll find one that's a full color card. This one you have to link to because it ends up being quite a big file because of the pattern in it. The first thing you need to do is you need to go to your cloud and you need to activate the fonts. I'm logged in, which means I can go to my account and I can go down here to stock and marketplace, and it should come up with fonts. You can also just kind of type in Adobe fonts. The one that you need to install or activate is called Interstate. If I click on that, it'll go through. There's a whole lot of interstates. We just want the one that's plain, Interstate. So if I click on that, up here mine says remove because it's already activated. Your one will probably say something like activate, install, something like that. So you hit that and it will immediately become active in Illustrator. So once I've got that, I can jump to Illustrator. And so this is the one that's the big. So it's got all the text and everything on it like this. The reason I'm using this is because of this shadow stuff, and I'll explain why. So if I go into the layers window, bring up the layers, it's set out in a particular way to try and make things easy. You are going to have to navigate through the layers. So I've got this one, which is just the card back. This one, which is the card. So if I flick that open, I'm going to see a number of layers. I'm going to see one down here, a little group. That if I flick that on and off, that's going to be my image. And then the other things here, you know, the little pathway and bits and pieces. So on this, I can do things where I can click on it, go to my swatches, fill it with a color, decide if I still want the black square and stuff. I can either go object, arrange, send to this to the back while it's highlighted, but you can see everything here when you flick open the layers. I can see that the yellow's above the image, so I can also just drag it underneath. And sometimes this is an easier way to work. This little thing here, I'm going to go eye, which brings up the eyedropper, and then I can just click on the yellow because I don't want the outline on it. This one here, I do want to keep that outline. So in this case, go to my swatches, go to the fill, load up that color. So I can go through and start to set things up in this way. I'm going to bring in a different image, this one here. So let's open up the layers. So if I click it, I can actually see, if I click all of this open, this is kind of my path. And then I've got my image here. So I can activate that, and that's dealing with just the image. Anyway, I know that this is a paste inside, so if I click on the square and see everything gets highlighted, I can double click. And this blue line and everything will show me that I'm inside the group. So I can actually just delete that image, and I'm going to go place, and I'm going to find a new image. Got this one. Click or click and drag if I want to get the size right. And you can see it's automatically within that square. So I can still kind of move it around, get it just how I want it. Now to get out of this space, I can either click the arrows and go back that way, or I can just double click. You'll see as soon as that blue line goes, we're back into the space. Now I can see things like the yellow clashes a little bit, so I'm going to change that to white, sitting over the top, and probably the same with this down here. Fill them both with white. So let's have a look at our layers. So we've got that sorted. The next one is the icons. Sometimes it's easier just to switch the other eyes off, so you're dealing with one layer. I've got these icons down the side so you can use them the way you want and change them. But the way I have them set up is I have my icon on the top, and I have another layer that has a bit of texture on it, and then a color behind. So I'm going to switch everything off. So I'm just looking at the icons, because I know I've got some more down here further down the page. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shift click on that circle, because I know the first circle that I click on is going to be the one with the texture. So I can go properties, click on opacity, and I'm going to change this to multiply. Now while I've still got it highlighted, what I can do is I can go object, lock, selection. Now it's locked all those. So when I click, even though I'm clicking in the same place, I'm not selecting that one with the tone because it's locked. I can't select that. So I'm actually selecting the circle underneath. And if I move it just to check, whoops. It looked like there was one there that I didn't actually have locked. I could tell because when I looked over at the fill, it had a question mark, so it was saying there was more than one thing selected, so I knew something was up. So if I click on all these circles, it just says the fill is white, so I know it's right this time. Swatches, anyway, I'll go yellow. Oh, this one has been a bit funny. I must have missed that selection before. So if I go unlock all, so it's back to normal, I can click on this top one. Opacity, what I'll find is it's not on multiply. So I obviously just didn't select it in the beginning. So I have all of that. I can also, now that I think about it, I might want to change the fire color icon to red. So this time I'm going to have a look for it on the layers, another way of looking for it. If I spin it open, you can see there's a whole heap, but I can see here, there's that layer because it's highlighted. So I can switch the eye off for a second. Click this one, comes up here, it's got the little red icon beside it, and I can just go, maybe I'll make it a kind of orange color. Just switch that eye back on. This one, click on it, I can see it here, switch the eye off. I can get that yellow, swatches, it was that orange, and just switch the layers back on. So using the layers is a powerful way to go. I could change the eye icon as well, but I'll leave it for the time being. So having a look at this, We've got our back card. Can lock all these layers if we want. Now we've got, I will lock them. Now we've got this text, which is the shadow. It's called type outline and type. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on type outline. I click here so that I know I've got that layer selected. I'm going to lock everything else just to make sure, and I'll go and select all, Command A. Oh, probably have to switch it on. Command A and delete it. Actually, probably what I could have done is just deleted the whole layer, because all I'm after at the moment is the type. Now it's set up in a way that on the type layer everything else is locked off. You can come in here and you can change things around. If you want to change the font, you can, but I'll say, okay, this guy's HP is only 10. I can move that back a bit if I want. I can change the name. I can change the height. This one's going to be 6 feet. Change all the text that I want. No longer the bash, I'll just call it bash. And using the space bar, I can move it over. A really good tip with text is you can be really subtle with the movements to line things up. So if I put the cursor in front of the 9, hold down the Alt key and hit the arrow keys, you can bump things along. This is called kerning. Usually what it's used for is things like, if I look at this and I go, actually the T is a bit too far away from the A, put the cursor there, hold down the Alt key, use the side arrows, and it moves everything, because fonts don't always come out quite so perfectly. When I've got the text the way I want, I'm going to duplicate that type layer by dragging it down to the new layer icon, and I'll call that new layer outline. This is just for this full card image where the text is going over the top. I'll drag that underneath, and what I'll do is I will lock off all the layers except for that type one, so it's the only one I can get. Zoom in a bit. I'll go, I can see it, I'll go Command A, and what I need to do is checking it's just the text. Looks like it's got something else in there at the, oh no, maybe it's just this text that's pushing it out. Anyway, I've got all the text. So what I need to do is I need to go a type, create outlines. This is important. This changes it from text to a shape. So it's underneath the black text. So I'm going to go, okay, I want to fill it with white. I want to click on the line and make that white. And when I come up here, I click on the stroke and I hit these down the center because I want the top two, because I want it to be rounded line. This is important. And then what I do is I just bump up the line, and it gives you that shadow. So I can click it, so I'm looking at the gap, how much white I want around it. And I like it on about 0.5 where it kind of seals everything up. I can click off because it's only that layer selected. And I'm just doing this because I'm fussy. Get the direct selection tool, drag over this text because it's on a white background. So just go delete because I know it doesn't have to have a white shadow around it. Same with these, just for cleanliness. I drag across that text because I know it's on a white box. And this might be just in case I want to change the color of the box or something later on. Delete twice, get rid of it. Okay, so we have our front of our card. Now the back, go to card back, I'm going to show you how to make a pattern. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here to Photoshop. I'm just going to switch off this background. Actually, I'll make it a bit cropped in because I just want this character. Now what I'm going to do, this is pretty memory intensive on Illustrator, so be careful with this technique. I'll switch off the colors for the transparency. I could flatten everything and make it a transparent PNG and stuff, but I'll just leave it for the sake of this. File, and we'll see how it goes. Save as, and I'll just call this pattern. Now if I jump back to Illustrator, you can make patterns on Illustrator, but you can also using Illustrator tools, but you can also use Photoshop images. So go File, Place. I'll find my image called pattern. What I'll see down here is it has this box called link. Usually that's switched on. That's fine. So I'll place it. Now what I need to do is I need to go Window and I need to go to Links. And I can see a little link beside it. If I look at this image, I must have had that button switched off, and so it's actually embedded this image over here, which is not so good, but I won't worry about it now. So this image here, to make a pattern, I have to go up to the hamburger menu and go Embed. I don't necessarily want to have all these things as separate objects. You can, so I'll just go Flatten, and it should keep the transparency. You can see now that that symbol is gone. So with this, I can now go to my swatches, drag it into my swatches, and it's created a pattern. I can get rid of that guy now. And to change my pattern, so if I click on this, and I go Fill, it'll fill with that pattern. To change this, if I double click, I can come in here, menu pops up, and you've got a whole lot of options, whether it's brick by brick, however you're going to design it, which bits are in front and which are behind, how much you can dim the other copies by, so you can see what you're doing. Anyway, the one I really like is if I click this top icon, you can pull the frame in, and it's going to pull the pattern in from everywhere. So I'm going to pull this down a bit at the top, and these things here, we'll swap it around. So now you can see the head is above the thing, so it's the kind of organization of the pattern. If I like that, I just double click on the background, probably with the arrow tool, and it changes the pattern here. These patterns, you can still add things to it. So let's say I want him to look like he's shouting or something. You can add all these kind of graphics and change the color and all sorts. Double click, and that will take place out here. So this is my pattern, so I'm going to go copy, Control C, so same as going up to edit, copy, edit, paste in front, or Control F, and I'm just going to change this. I'm going to give it a line of none, and the fill, I'm going to change it to pinky color. Just go object, arrange, center the back, and I'll get a background color, because remember this pattern over the top had transparency. So we can put other colors and even other patterns behind it. Decide if I want that big, ugly black line, or I can change it down to be a bit thinner. And that's looking pretty good. And so it's going to be a similar kind of process, except you probably don't need to worry about this shadow on the text for the other card type.